Thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of Quarantube. Hemi and I went back into our archives again for another automotive how-to-do-it-yourself video that I took. I initially put this one on Instagram as well. What this one focuses on is how to change the rear end fluid gear oil for the differential in your 2009 to 2014 style F-150. Now I changed this on my 2013 F-150 with the 373 gears, but the process is going to be the same for most models unless you have a limited slip. Then there's another additive that you need to put into the gear oil itself. But for everybody else, this is going to show you how to do it. This video was shot roughly a year ago at my parents' garage in Pennsylvania. The weather was horrible, so I made the most of my time by doing some preventative maintenance and changing the gear oil. Things to note in the video, you'll hear me say that I'm leaving it sit for 24 hours to cure, the gasket to cure before I refill it. You don't need to do that. If you let it sit for an hour, that should be enough. But I had nowhere to go, nowhere to be, so I let it sit for a full day before I refilled it. Also, things to note, and I show you what lubricant you need to add and everything like that. But if you have a question on how many quarts, it's going to roughly take 4 quarts of the gear oil. So just know that going into it. And I'll show you exactly everything else that you need. But that's it. It's a very simple do-it-yourself project. You don't need a garage to do this unless it's horrible weather, like it was raining in Pennsylvania when I did this, and some shelter is nice, but this is something you can tackle right in your driveway. You don't need a lift. You don't need a jack. You just need a couple basic tools, the right oil, and a little bit of time, and that's all that it takes, and it'll save you a couple $100 as opposed to taking it to a shop or to the dealership. So I hope you like it going forward, and please enjoy episode 4 of Quarantube and how to change gear oil in your 2009 to 2014 F-150. Just here enjoying the Pennsylvania weather. Gotta love it. Absolutely love it. Oh yeah. So, I'm back home in Pennsylvania. It's storming unbelievably outside. The weather sucks, as normal. And there's really nothing that I can do outside to enjoy myself. So, the only thing that I hate worse than Pennsylvania weather are Ford dealerships. Ford dealerships are just stupid. The guys in the garage know pretty much exactly what any regular guy in their own garage knows. They overcharge you for shit, and really, Ford's just a big ripoff in my mind. Love my truck, but it's a big ripoff. So, let's say hi to my baby. There's a 73 Dodge. So, with that said, in this rainstorm, I'm going to teach you how to save hundreds on your car insurance, no, just on your car, and teach you how to change rear differential fluid, just for fun. First thing I want to show you is what you're going to need to get this job done. So first, this is the most expensive stuff right here. You need, and this is for your Ford F-150, 75W140 synthetic rear axle lube. That's right, you're gonna need to lube up your rear end. You're also gonna need some gasket maker. You're gonna need some thread sealant. You're gonna need a torque wrench. You're gonna need some brake clean, just to make things nice and clean. And most importantly, you're gonna need the very best of poison to get you through this hell of a day. All right, so now that you have all your tools, it's time to start getting to work. So the next thing you do is crawl under your truck, all right? And you find the differential, which if you don't know what a differential is, it's this thing. It's the pumpkin in the back, all right? It's where your gears are. Hopefully, if you have a truck or any 4x4 vehicle, you know what the hell a differential is. But if you're just a big dummy with a lot of money who buys things and doesn't know what the components are, that's your differential. But the first thing you're going to want to do is locate this fill plug, which is right here. It's easy access. You don't even have to jack up the truck. You don't need to do it. You just crawl under and get to it. Nice and safe and easy.
But we're gonna crack this first, because if this thing is seized up, it won't come out, and then we already drain all the fluid out of here. We're really up shit creek without a paddle. So we're gonna crack this first and make sure it's not seized up, and then we'll get to taking the cover off. Okay, so my fill plug was not seized at all. It came off real easily. So I just have it in the fill hole really, really loosely. So what we're gonna do now, or next I should say, is we're gonna move some of this stuff out of the way. You can see how it just sort of popped on the end of some of these bolts. These are like brake lines, that type of thing. You don't need to do anything crazy. Just pop these off and just sort of move them upwards a little bit to get them out of the way of this. You don't have to do anything that involved. And then what we're gonna do is we are gonna get a ratchet. You can use an impact wrench if you want, but I'm gonna use a ratchet and just start taking off these bolts around the faceplate. But we're gonna leave a top one in, because when we pop the bottom of this, instead of having this whole thing fall off and fluid go everywhere, we're just gonna crack it at the bottom and let all that fluid fall right in that fluid pan so we don't have a big mess. That's called being smart. Okay, so you can see I've removed all of the bolts except for that one top one right there. See it right there, right at the very top? Left that one in, because what I'm going to do is take this putty knife, and I'm going to get in the bottom of this and work this putty knife along the bottom until that sealant in there pops, and then the bottom of this differential cover will just crack open. All that fluid will fall right down into my pan. At that point, I'll take that top bolt out, and we'll be ready to start cleaning the differential. Now, some people would say this is overkill. It probably is, because these should all be, well, they are all the same size, so it shouldn't matter what hole they go in. But because I am just that type of guy, and sealing this at the very end is so important, I labeled them all around where they would be on the differential so that I know what I'm done, and I'm putting these back in. I'm putting the same exact bolt into the same exact hole that it came out of, and I know everything should fit nice and snug. They're just working that putty knife around, and there it is. Leaking, leaking, leaking. Here comes all that rear end fluid, baby. Keep working this thing around. And there it is. She popped. And just let all of that leak out. And then we'll take the cover off and we'll get to cleaning. So that, my friends, is the rear differential on my 2013 F-150. And I am really impressed. I gotta wipe all this fluid out. I've already wiped some out though. And it's pretty damn clean inside. Now I don't really tow anything or anything like that, and most of my driving is highway driving. I haven't really done too much off-roading. In Georgia, I've just gone a couple of times. When I lived in Virginia, I would go to the beach, North Carolina, but I'm really impressed with how clean it is in there. Because, I'm not gonna lie, it was way overdue for this, but it looks like it could have kept on trucking. So I'm happy, but that is your gears inside your differential. Okay, so next what I've done now is I've covered the differential with shop towels. I was looking for some clean rags around here, but I couldn't find any, so I just grabbed the shop towels and packed that housing full of them. Because what I'm going to do is, you see where all that silicone's left around the flange, all that gasket maker that's used to seal it. Well, we want to get a really good seal this next time, so I'm going to spray that with brake clean. I'm going to scrape all that off, and I'm also going to do that for the flange, the inside flange on the actual cover that connects to that, and get those as clean as I can, so that whenever I put the new gasket maker on there and stick them together, there's no imperfections that will cause a leak. And the reason that we cover this is when we're scraping all that crud off of there, we don't want it to fall into the gears. You want to keep those obviously as clean as you can. Okay, so now that I have the cover for the differential housing completely clean and ready to go, I'm going to take this Preventative gear oil gasket maker. Very important that you get the gear oil. This is specifically made for this purpose, gasket maker. And I'm going to put it around here. I'm going to go around every one of these holes, and then in the middle, and then around the hole, then in the middle, around the hole, all the way around in one continuous bead as best I can, and be as generous as you want with this stuff. I'll snap a picture of it when I'm done so you can see what it looks like, and then I'm going to line it up right back on the differential. I'm going to take those bolts, and I'm going to bolt this in and get it hand tight and in place. Then I'm going to take a ratchet and tighten it down, and then I'm going to take the torque wrench and I'm going to torque it to spec after that, and then we're going to let this thing sit for a day. Alright, so the cover's back on, and yes, I'm notorious for getting Permatex all over everything, but this is really what you want to see. When you put the cover on, you want to see it squishing out. See, it's coming through the bolts. I don't know why it didn't come through that one. It came through all the rest of them, but it's squishing out on this bottom end here, so that's good. And you want to see it coming out all over it, and that means it should be squishing out on the inside too, which is great because that's our seal. That's what's keeping all that axle fluid in there. So what I'm going to do now is get my torque wrench. I'm going to torque these down to specs, which is 35 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to let this sit. You can let it sit for an hour before you fill it, but I have no plans. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to let it sit for a whole day, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill it up. Now, not to forget our little fill plug. The very first thing that we did was loosen this thing, remember? So these things are actually magnetic, and that's so that they can catch the really fine metal shavings that come off from those gears. So you can see that gray on there? That's what that magnet caught. See, it's on there, so I'm just going to clean this off. Get it nice and clean, and then tomorrow when I go to fill that up, before I put this fill plug back on, I'm going to put some of the thread sealant on it, and then I'll just hand tighten it, and then if you really want to tighten it to spec, it's 15 foot-pounds, but hand tight will do, and then you're done. So tomorrow 10:30 p.m. will officially be finished. The sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I'll love you tomorrow. It's only a day away. Hey everybody, so this is the very end. Alright, I let this RTV gasket maker cure for 24 hours to make sure that it's nice and solid, and now I've already put about 2.5 bottles of rear end fluid in here. All I do is cut the spout off and I put it up here and I squeeze it in. You're gonna love the sound that this makes. I'm pretty certain this is why they call it rear end fluid. Here we go, right there. Oh yeah, there you go. Squeeze it right into the differential. And we're just gonna repeat that until it really starts to flow out of that hole.
So there you have it. That's how easy it is to change the differential fluid in your 2009 to 2014 F-150. All you need to do to round this out is take that magnetic plug that goes in the hole that we squeeze the new rear end fluid into. You're going to want to take your thread sealant, put it on the threads of that plug, tighten it down. Hand tight will be fine on that, and then the job will be completed. So if you're trying to figure out exactly how many quarts you need, it's going to take roughly 4 quarts of the fluids. You just keep squeezing it in there until it starts to overflow out of that hole, and then you know that it's filled to the top right where it should be. So roughly 4 quarts. It's going to be the 75 W140 lubricant is what you want. At one point the specs on it was 8090, but those specs have since changed to 75 140, so that's what you want to use going forward. And it's as simple as that. So just a couple basic tools, a little bit of your time, and that's all you need. You don't need to go to a shop for that. It's something you can tackle right in your own driveway. You don't need to jack the truck up. It's a very safe process to do. Anybody can do it. It's like changing your oil, just takes a little bit more time. That's all there is to it. So thanks for tuning in again to QuarnTube episode 4, and I look forward to making episode 5 for you sometime soon.